If your plants are wilting, do not freak out. In this video, we're going to talk about the main reasons, the most common reasons why your plants are probably wilting and what you can do about it. Let's go. When your plants are wilting, they can be wilting for a variety of different reasons. Now, the biggest thing I want to take home with this video is that you should not overreact. Understanding the why they're wilting can help you understand how to handle it when it happens. So wilt can happen from a variety of different reasons. Most commonly though, it's because of environmental conditions such as heat. Now, when your plants are overheating, they're going to wilt. And this is because the plants, they don't have the ability to sweat like you and I do. The undersides of the leaves have what's known as a stomata. That's essentially the mouth of the leaf. That's how they breathe, and that's how they respire. And when you have the plant breathing on a very hot day, it loses water. So the plant has adapted over thousands of years of growing to essentially close off its mouth, not to respire. And because these are big solar panels and the sun is really hot sometimes, like today it's a scorcher, we're like 92 degrees today. These leaves here, depending on the plant, may not want to be exposed to that high of radiation, that high amount of heat. And so what they will do is they will wilt. They will wilt because when they wilt, they're no longer as rigid, which makes them less susceptible to being burned, and it also reduces evaporation. It's a protection mechanism. And as gardeners, we sometimes see this wilt that happens during the midday, during the heat of the day, and we panic. Most commonly, you've probably seen this happen with your pumpkins. Squash plants have this a lot because they have really large leaves, huge leaves, a lot of surface area. But tomatoes will sometimes do it. Heck, our peppers are doing it right now. And peppers, they are born and bred for arid, dry environments. And even they, right now, are kind of not liking the heat too much. So if you notice here, this pepper plant, the leaves are drooping. They are quite saggy today. Earlier this morning, they were nice and straight and they were accepting that sunlight, awesome, but they are now drooping. And that's because as the heat of the day has come out, they've learned that in the hot, arid environments where they normally would grow, they would not survive if they were all, just perfectly straight up and nice and rigid. So they've drooped throughout the day as the heat of the sun has come out. And a lot of gardeners would react to this and say, well, I need to water. You may need to water, but watering when you see drooping is not always something you have to do. It sometimes is just a coping mechanism on how a plant gets through the heat of the day. Now, certain plants will not be able to cope. For instance, lettuce. Lettuce cannot cope with the heat. It's going to droop to try, but it's inevitably going to really suffer. These, they will droop, they'll pick back up, they'll droop, they'll pick back up. Same thing with your pumpkins. Your pumpkins will do the exact same thing. And that is just how they survive. That's how they get through the day. Wilting is not always a bad thing. And oftentimes it's just them trying to get through some nice, strong sun before they can kind of rehydrate, if you will, and get ready to grow again. The second reason why your plants could be wilting and require no action from yourself has to do with strong wind. Now, very similarly to a very hot day, the tips of plants typically are going to be the thing that wilts when it's windy. Now, you see this very commonly with tomatoes, peppers, and a few other crops. We've noticed it with bush beans will sometimes get a little bit wilty with strong wind. We had our fruit trees get wilty on the tops with strong wind. That is because what they are doing is the wind is blowing across the leaf, and that wind increases evaporation. And so it doesn't even have to be a very hot day. If the wind is stronger than about 40 degrees, what will happen is the wind will actually cause the leaves to start to reduce the amount of water content in the cells. It'll take that water and essentially shrivel the cells just temporarily so that it wilts. And that prevents the water from evaporating off in the wind, and it really helps to overall conserve water, which helps it to survive. Strong winds, very breezy days, you'll find the tops of your plants are most affected. And that's because the lower leaves are typically not exposed to those strong winds. They're also a little more resilient because the cells and the skin has had a chance to kind of firm up, if you will. That young, tender foliage is very tender, and therefore it doesn't have kind of the protection that an older leaf or an older stem would have. So strong wind absolutely can cause wilt. Does it mean you have to come in there and overreact? Does it mean you have to water? Not necessarily. I find that oftentimes the mistakes that I make as a gardener are mistakes that I make when I ignore the natural phenomena that are happening. The way these plants have grown and adapted over time. If I ignore that and I say, I'm gonna water because I see wilt, or I'm gonna water because I feel like they need water, that doesn't always mean that they need water, and sometimes we can be overwatering, and overwatering can lead to problems as well, which we'll talk about later because that's also another reason why your plants could be wilting. But when it comes to just strong winds, it's a very common reason why your plants are gonna wilt. If you've ever heard of the saying, you can tell a storm is coming because you can see the undersides of the leaves, that has to do with a change in barometric pressure. Believe it or not, yes, the wind does play into effect. The wind will kind of flip the leaves up here and there, but the reason why the leaves really rotate over, allowing you to see the undersides of the leaves, has to do with the fact that the leaves have gone limp. Changes in barometric pressure have to do with that. If you've ever gone up in altitude, if you've gotten on a plane or you've been on a very hilly road, your ears have probably felt full, or they've had that kind of popping sensation. That has to do with pressure. The same exact thing happens when a storm is coming. If there's a low pressure system or a high pressure system, that pressure, that change in pressure, barometric pressure, can actually affect the leaves, and they're far more sensitive than our ears are to that pressure change, and that can cause the leaves to wilt and droop, basically protecting them. Some scientists will say that it's protecting them because whether if it's a strong storm, hail and heavy rains can snap limbs and break branches. That might be true. We have not been able to speak plants, so maybe that's the case. Maybe it's just the change in pressure. Maybe the cells, because the cell walls are so sensitive to that pressure that it's very easy for them to essentially lose the water and then regain the water when the pressure has kind of shifted back to normal again. And so maybe that's the case. But regardless, it is a very well-known fact that during pressure system changes, high pressure or low pressure, your leaves will wilt. And it has no effect on if you should be watering, how much you should be watering, when you should be watering. It has nothing to do with you as a gardener. It just is a response to the overall environment. But now we're going to talk about something that you are probably doing when you see your plants wilting. They can make the wilting worse. So we're here with our cucumbers, and what you'll notice, we're getting into the heat of the day right now. Check this out. Droopy leaves. These older, more mature leaves, some are doing okay. Some of them are starting to droop a little bit. And that is that response that I'm talking about. They're trying to protect themselves from evaporation. That strong sun has come out and they don't want to overly respire. They don't want to lose that water. So the stomatas have closed. It's sending water down into the roots to conserve that water for later. When the sun has lost strength, they're going to perk up just fine. But as a gardener, we say, oh my gosh, my plants need water. And that might be true. That might be true. But if you are watering on a regular basis and your soil is the right type of soil, you should not be watering all the time. You shouldn't have to, at least, depending on where you're at. Here in Michigan, we don't have to water all the time. In fact, we just got rain 2 days ago. If I dig down, I'm not even 2 inches down, and I'm already starting to see soil that has ample amounts of water. There is no reason whatsoever that I should be watering. I mean, I can make a ball with this. Granted, that ball crumbles. This soil has plenty of moisture in it, plenty. And the roots go down just because the top of the soil is dry. And just because your plants are wilting does not mean you need to water. What's going to happen if you water every single time you see wilt is you're going to overwater. And there are a lot of other reasons we can get into about why your plants might be wilting. We could talk about, okay, there's bacterial wilt. There's pesticide wilt. Those are problems for another day, because I would say that probably 95% of the reason why your plants are wilting is because of environmental changes that are irregardless of you needing to do anything. You don't need to do a single thing. They're wilting because of the environment, not because you need to do anything as a gardener. And if you water too much, you're going to cause root rot, and that is a big reason why your plants will continue to wilt. Watering when your plants don't need it causes the root rot. And the root rot is probably one of the leading reasons why beginning gardeners and even more advanced gardeners lose their plants. It is a failure to recognize the type of soil you have, a failure to learn about how your soil reacts, and then a failure to listen to your plants. You see, and failing is not a bad thing. Through every failure, you have an opportunity to learn. I've learned so much about my plants and about the soil that now I kind of understand this. But as a beginning gardener, I found myself watering all the time. Anytime my plants wilted, anytime it was hot, anytime it hadn't rained in even 1 or 2 days, I'd find myself watering. And what I found is that my plants became so dependent on me watering them that they had very little root development. The roots were very shallow. The roots that were there were oftentimes rotting away, resulting in very few roots sustaining a rather large plant. And that exacerbates the problem. That is why, so the root system can wick up water and nutrients and sustain that plant. But if we're losing roots, or if the plant is not encouraged to produce new roots, that root system is very small and it's very immature and underdeveloped. And as gardeners, we see the wilt. We don't see what's going on under the surface. We see the wilt, and so we water more. And that either rots away even more roots, or it prevents new roots from forming because they're not encouraged to spread out. And so we water again because it wilts. And the wilting gets worse, and it gets worse, and it gets worse, and they never fully develop. And so we want to, as gardeners, understand, we want to learn our soil. Dig your soil. Dig in your soil once a week throughout the growing season. See where it's wet, see where it's dry. If it's dry, absolutely water, but log that. How long has it been since it last rained? How long has it been since I last watered? The time of day that you're watering. Are you watering in the morning? Are you watering in the afternoon where you shouldn't be and it's evaporating really quickly? How efficient is your watering? Are you watering at night, right? When you're watering, how frequently you're watering. Those are all things you should be logging so you better understand how your soil is reacting, so you know when to water. Because, like I said, I'd say probably 90% of the time with my soil, the way that it is, and the fact that I understand how my plants are reacting to my soil, they're just drooping or wilting because it's either hot, it's too sunny, it's too windy, or there's a storm coming, and I don't need to do anything. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you all learned something new. If you did, make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. And this video, I hope, served as a really good example to help you guys understand that not everything needs a solution from you as a gardener. Sometimes the solution, I guess, is just learning. And so I hope you guys learned something new. I really hope that you enjoyed, and we'll catch you all on the next episode. Hopefully you guys are enjoying these videos as we're getting started with the growing season, and I appreciate y'all for being here. So as always, this is Luke from the My Gardener channel, reminding you to grow bigger. Take care. Bye. Hey, thank you so much for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed, consider clicking this one. You'll probably enjoy it just as much. I want to thank you for your viewership, because without it, this channel would not be as amazing as it is. Also, if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. It's free, and we upload videos every Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. We also have vegetable seeds, fertilizer, or tools. If you need any of those, consider visiting mygardener.com. Links will be in the description box below. We've got you covered. And as always, we'll see you all in the garden. Take care. Bye.